The historic one-of-a-kind St. Francis Chapel is part of the California building, but most park visitors don't even know it exists. That's because you can't see it from the outside. We've learned it was Goodhue, along with architect Carlton Winslow, who chose the chapel's interior features, like the tile floor, heavy beams, and its simple mission-style features. Where are we now? This is like a really nice thing to come here.
We are in the chapel that is part of the California Quadrangle that includes the Museum of Man building, as many people know, but it's actually the California State Building as it was built in 1915. This is a beautiful space, and it's really one of the hidden gems of Balboa Park.
The chapel was built as a non-denominational church for the Expo's civic events, but also for visitors who wanted a spiritual moment during their visit in San Diego.
Take a look at this.
Oh, wow.
Now, turn right around. And what do you see?
The exact same thing.
It's unchanged. Wow. That's a pretty phenomenal thing. There are very few cities that treat these kind of treasures with this level of respect. Wow. San Diego's done a great job of maintaining these sorts of things for everybody to see 100 years later.
It looks much like a Spanish or Mexican chapel. Simple interior, thick walls, and a few windows.
It was built to be part of the exhibition, but it was built as a personal passion by Bertram Grosvenor Goodhue, who was the general and the superior architect of the entire fairgrounds at the time. He had a lot of assistants, of course, but this was a personal passion that he brought to this part of the park.
The chapel is kind of a jewel within the jewel of Balboa Park, and it's largely hidden. You know, it's down, feels like the bowels of our collection area in the California Quadrangle. But the chapel, the St. Francis Chapel, was originally designed as an exhibit for the 1915 exposition, and it was sort of a reproduction of what a chapel in Spain or Mexico might look like here in this, Spanish-style sort of architecture.
The chapel is San Diego's best-kept secret, and it seems as though time has stood still. Few visitors get to see the beautifully designed building.
It's been called Moorish, it's been called a mix of Spanish and Mexican. It really has a lot of the classic European elements to it, and in fact there were European artisans that were brought in to do the finishing touches on the building. And so when you look at it, you get an automatic sense that it is a San Diego building.
The chapel and building's architectural design is meant to reflect Spanish Colonial Revival.
It's to connect us with Europe, it was to connect us with classical architecture, and it was to really let people feel that they were in a castle, someplace different than the rest of America.
Yes.
So we set ourselves apart by taking the best of Mediterranean architecture, the best of classical European, but with touches of modernism.
Many of the first permanent buildings in the park had the same Spanish Colonial Revival design. But from the California Tower, you can clearly see that the same design style continued through much of the park. Well, this is a fantastic view, and the level, you could see just the entire park through here.
Yeah, this was a vantage point where they did a lot of postcards that you could buy, back during the expo. So it's a great overview looking east, the mountains in the distance, looking down El Prado, the Plaza de Panama in the middle. Now, some of the buildings have changed around the plaza over the years. The Museum of Art didn't come in until the 20s. And then some of these other buildings on this side were in the 60s.
Back inside the St. Francis Chapel, there's so much more to admire, including the chapel's balcony, which gives visitors an amazing view from above. There's only 3 windows.
The height of the ceilings, the open beams, the depth of the walls, all of these things speak to old world. They're really, at the time in 1915, there were modern building styles. In fact, Irving Gill was beginning to champion the tilt-up concrete even then.
The St. Francis Chapel is still used for civic events and weddings, but it is not open to the public. This is a rare look inside. What a special place that has been exceptionally preserved for more than 100 years.